3, 2, 1, go.
And this is also where we get some of my favorite Hopper and Joy stuff, where he's not like judgmental or weirded out by the state of her house and what he's like, no, I get it. Like I'm here for you. He just doesn't know that she's actually right. But he's been through what she's going through, so he wants to help.
Yeah. Do you have Stranger Things Lego? We do not have Stranger Things Lego.
They should make that Lego game. Then we can play it for the channel.
Which is like a Stranger Things game that isn't like a 2D beat 'em up.
This is the type of thing. I'm curious how much these things overlapped. Where it feels like a Telltale Stranger Things game would make a lot of sense. But I don't remember how much of the overlap was there when Telltale was going away and falling apart and when this was starting.
It couldn't be that far off because season 1 of The Walking Dead is 2012.
Yeah, I mean, that was still a bit before this. I mean, once they got big, though, I mean, they were pumping so many of those out quick.
Yeah.
Too many, arguably.
So Telltale Batman, the first one, came out the same year as this.
Oh, okay.
So no, it's kind of right at the height of the just onslaught of IP. Wonder if there's such thing as the Marvel of horror. Do you mean like a cinematic universe or?
Oh, those would be the Universal Monsters. They were the first cinematic universe.
You could also argue that retroactively, Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th are a cinematic universe.
That is true. Like I said, I think these two actors have genuinely really good chemistry. I think.
Yeah, they're fun in interviews too.
That's true. And when we get to season 3, even though they overdo the bickering, I still think it's mostly entertaining to watch because it's
better. It's better. Some
of it's overdone.
They're saving what I think is subpar material on paper.
Yeah, because they're still able to convey that I'm not watching two characters that hate each other and it's annoying. Like, it's coming from a place of love and that these characters care about each other. It's not like certain CW shows where you get to a point where it's like these two characters hate each other. Why are we sitting through this episode after episode? These characters just need to stop talking to each other. With Joyce and Hopper bickering, like, it never feels like it goes too far or gets too personal. Like, it's usually.
Oh yeah, I forgot Cap is doing the X-Men Origins commentary tonight.
Yeah, I'll need to watch that after the fact. I bet that'll be a fun one.
Which is funny because Austin and I just watched that a little while ago and he hated it.
Was it like his first time watching it in a while or something?
A while, yeah.
I haven't watched it in a while, but I didn't get around to rewatching it, but I still plan to. It's just a weird misfire of a movie, but one I liked when I was a kid.
I don't think it's as bad as people say. It's not great. It's not even good, but I think it's watchable.
I think it's watchable schlock. That's the most positive thing I could say about it.
So this is something I've never been able to do is fall asleep with headphones on. It's just so uncomfortable.
Oh yeah, I can only do it with like earbuds. But I've never been able to go to sleep with
in the 80s with wired headsets.
Yeah, no. I can't go to sleep wearing that.
I'm. I have to admit though, I was trying not to get hyped for it, but I am kind of hyped for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Hope you enjoy it.
Had two people now tell me that it's his best performance is Wolverine.
He's very good in it. I don't know if I'd go that far.
Oh,
He's very
oh,
good
you
at it.
saw that today, didn't you? How
I
did you
did.
like it?
Yeah, that's it. I liked it. Is it the most overhyped movie of the year? Yes, but I did enjoy it.
So I just I can't help but cringe when I see the like Deadpool Deadpool saves the MCU. It's like
No,
I do though have a feeling that this will end up being my favorite Deadpool movie. I don't like
it could be.
Deadpool.
Hey, if you're there for Wolverine, you get a lot of Wolverine. You're not going to be disappointed there.
We won't talk too much about it on screen, but I do definitely want to talk to you after I've seen it. But like I said, I know most of the cameos. That
Yeah,
I
I
don't
will
care
say
enough.
though, like saying this is Hugh Jackman's best performance, like I can't go that far, at least not yet. But he gets a couple great scenes.
Would
There's
you
one in a
say
car. You'll know when you get to it.
so? To be fair, though, would you say it's his most comic accurate portrayal?
Maybe, but I also haven't read a lot of comics where Wolverine's interacting with Deadpool, so that's hard for me to answer. Um, I don't know. I'd say his most comic accurate Wolverine's probably like X2. I think that's pretty close. In my opinion.
But
Uh,
to be fair, though, like with Austin saying that he doesn't think Logan's all that great. Like, you think it's fine.
and I
So
love Logan. Like, I don't think it's like one of the best movies ever made or whatever, but I do love Logan. And
it
it's like,
might be in my top. If it's not in my top 10, that's in my top 20 of all time.
mhm. Like I can't say he gives a better performance here than he does in that, but if you're wanting more comic booky Wolverine, yeah, I think it's fair to say you get more of that in this than you get in Logan.
I'm so happy we get the yellow suit. I don't even care about the mask. I know about the mask. Okay, so I'm not going to consider. Well,
So,
I'm going to message you something.
but back to the show. I really enjoy these Mike and 11 scenes.
No, I do. I do too. You said at the beginning of the season, like the Steve and Nancy thing being like a high school thing, and those don't usually last. I think it's weirder that Mike and 11 have lasted all the way through to season 4 because they met when they were like 10.
Mm-hmm. And when we do their breakup stuff in season 3, I just think we kind of rush into that, and it's a little forced.
And it
And it's
doesn't come from
okay.
either one of them.
Yeah. Like it's played more for comedy, so I don't hate it, but it just sucks that that's what most of the season is with
Because
those
I don't think 11 because 11 doesn't understand like what she's doing. Max is influencing her.
Yes.
And it feels like Max is only doing that because she wants to be petty.
Mhm. Yeah, that's definitely the season where I like Max the least. But season 4 fixes that.
I hope that actress gets to do other stuff though. I like her in season 2 and 4.
And I liked her in the Fear Street 1978. She's the lead
Yes.
in that. I thought she was very good.
And then she comes back for the sequel and is like in it for 2 seconds.
Well, yeah, but it's because it's in a different time period.
I really don't like that third one.
I loved like the a good chunk of it. I loved.
I think it loses the motif. Like first one is 90s, second one is 80s slashers, 70s and 80s slashers. The third one doesn't really have a motif.
Well, but I like the 1600s setting. And
See, I don't. I think it feels. I think
that
out of
stuff
all
I
of
really like.
them, that one feels like the Nickelodeon version of The Witch.
I mean, that's not inaccurate, but that's obviously some of the stuff it's going for.
Andrew, I'm sad about Eddie from chapter 2. That's my favorite character, and he died, and I crying. I'm sorry
Hey,
to
and
hear that your
I
favorite
love Eddie.
character died, but we're not really watching it. We're watching Stranger Things. So when you said if the flying bikes would be too far, I don't think so, because this is also just a scene from E.T.
Yep.
Although to be fair, this is like a quintessential 80s kids movie scene.
Yeah, I mean that's also like any like 80s teen movie, sneaking out of the house. I forgot he had a Dark Crystal poster. That also
That's an
feels like
obscure pick.
it's too obscure. Like I appreciate the reference, but I don't know how easy it would be to just buy a Dark Crystal poster in '83. In the life that they also just brought up a Killer Crowns from Outer Space. I forget. Did you get that game? Are you playing
I
the new
bought it
Killer
for a
Crowns game?
bit, but I had to refund it because I needed the money. It's
Right. Yeah.
fine. I'm just
That
kind of
just
tired
feels.
of these asymmetrical
Yeah.
multiplayer.
It's also weird that I feel like that's a property I see referenced and talked about so much. And now there's a game, but
Yeah, I
there's only
couldn't
the one
believe
movie,
when they
right?
announced the game. Yeah, there's no, they did a sequel,
Okay, like there
or
might
there
be a
was
sequel.
supposed to be a sequel. I don't know. Mars asks, how many times have you seen Stranger Things?
I've seen this
couple
season at least 3
times.
times.
Yeah, I tend to with shows like this because of how long it is between seasons. When I know a new season's coming out, I try to rewatch the show to like refresh myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I've probably seen the whole thing 2 or 3 times, except for season 4, which I've only watched once, and then I went back and watched like certain scenes.
Yeah, season 4 is the only season I've seen just one time.
That's going to be an interesting commentary. I think that might be the only one we do have to split up because those last 2 episodes.
Hmm.
Oh,
Oh yeah, that'll be impossible. And that's another thing with Jonathan's character. I really like these couple of scenes we get with him and Hopper, and it would be nice to get more scenes with him and Hopper, but we can't because Hopper's in Russia for a whole season. So
well,
that's
and
another
Jonathan has
relationship we don't.
nothing to do in season 3
Well, it gets a
except be a
little
dick to
bit,
Nancy.
only like one time. I like I like their little subplot with the newspaper when he's taking photos and she's investigating like the
I
rat stuff,
think
but that's a very small part of the season.
I don't know. That one scene with them in the season 3 bothers me.
I don't know. I think he has a point. It just feels like we don't get a lot of like great relationship stuff with the show where it's always we get this couple together, now we gotta walk it back. Now we have this couple together, now we gotta walk it back. And we do that push and pull maybe too much in the show instead of just letting a couple be a couple and work things out and be together. Because I'm glad we finally
The
got Hopper and
famous
Joyce together.
like hallway
We had to wait for
between the famous like alley in between. Okay, so this is where I start to question. This is where I think the writing starts to break down a little bit. She is going to get mad at him because he doesn't believe that a person with no face came and kidnapped her friend, and that he's more scared of getting trouble with his parents.
Well, he. To be fair, this is I think should count as one of the kind of jerk Steve moments where he's more concerned about him getting in trouble for having a party than his girlfriend's best friend going missing. Like that's obviously what should be the bigger problem here. So yeah, like this is a bit. He is showing a bit of selfishness here that he'll quickly get past. But yeah, he's not being great in this situation.
Mars, to me personally, the conversation just feels really boring between Nancy and Steve. That's fair. I think they have way more chemistry than her and Charlie Heaton. Um, I think Charlie's best scenes are when he's with his parents or Hopper. Or
Yeah, like this one. Like I like this is uncomfortable in all the right ways. Like this is the type of scene some people would call cringe, but like I don't. It's just I think we've all seen a couple of people in a family just have kind of a meltdown like this, and it's in a public setting and awkward. But it's like, yeah, sometimes people just kind of lash out or snap.
Mars says you guys seem like the guys who could find interest in the smallest thing. I mean, to be fair, like that's kind of what we do is review things.
Yeah. We're also doing a commentary back
for
back
8 hours.
So we have to find things to talk. We're not can't have long stretches just sitting here quietly. And I think he's reasonable with the scene where it's like, okay, you're having a breakdown. Like I'm going to bury my brother. Like I now have like these adult responsibilities I need to do. Like I need to pay for a casket. I need to
I forgot
do
how
all this
good
stuff.
he actually is in certain scenes. Like I can only think of the
Mhm.
later seasons where he's really just
Where he gets nothing.
there.
Mhm.
I try to find interest in the smallest thing, but it's really hard for me to enjoy it no matter how boring it is. That's fair. I mean, everybody has their tastes. There are things that I just cannot get into.
It also helps that in this case, like I have seen the season like 3 times before, so there's a lot of stuff that's just coming back to me. Like I already have pretty full
And I have
thoughts
like a
on
lot
the
of
show.
friends that are big into Stranger Things. We talk about Stranger Things a lot. Like I've ranted about Steve's treatment in some of these episodes a lot.
There are a lot
I
of
appreciate
X-Men
that they're X-Men
references.
fans. Well,
Mhm.
this would be that's the like the peak of Claremont.
Mhm.
X-Men was like the biggest book in the world as far as comics go. I'm more surprised one of them made a lantern reference. I hope that we get one from each group that like doesn't believe he's dead.
Mhm. Yeah, it's a really good example of show where you have like 3 or 4 smaller mysteries that will converge because it's all the same mystery and it's really tightly wound. It's not again, some of the following seasons will struggle with this, but this one just it's all cohesive. You're never confused. And maybe some other people have this issue, but I've never watched season 1 and felt like, "Oh, I'm with these characters. I wish I was with these characters." Like, no, I get about the same level of enjoyment like no matter what group we're following.
I've had moods where I'm like I'm more in the mood for one subplot than the other, but this is the most balanced.
I
Mars,
did
they have one of the X-Men as a friend, but they don't believe Will can contact through the Upside Down. I mean,
well, and to be fair, they don't entirely know exactly like what she can do yet, and Lucas, I think, understandably distrusts her.
so is this just her normal hair?
Oh no, no, this is a wig, but
No,
it's
I don't
also
mean
super.
Eleven's normal hair. I mean like Billy Bobby Brown's normal hair.
No, she did really shave her head for this,
Oh,
um, which was something she was, because she was a kid, it was kind of uncomfortable doing. But part of what got her through it was they showed her Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road, and we're like, see, and she's like, oh, she looks really cool, and like that kind of sold her on the shaved head look. But yeah, this is a wig, but
that's
a
kind of
very
cool though, because
professional.
like Karen Gillian did that for Nebula.
Yeah, no, it's cool when people, commit. And it's just funny though when you watch that and you just asked like, is that her real hair? It's like, well, most kids can't style a wig and make it look that natural. That's a bit of a leap,
Yeah,
but it's
exactly.
fine.
And then
Most
the
kids wouldn't
constant
know how to
going with the
straighten it.
disbelief of ghosts and something cliche. YouTube's got to do something about that heart thing that's in the chat. Like, let us move it or something.
Oh yeah, it's annoying. Yeah, because it obscures some of what we're seeing. Oh, this is a great scene. The sacrificial lamb moment. Like you're doing good. You got this.
Go on. Some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to
I'm
make.
willing. I love this hero shot of his face where he gets like in the zone, determined like, yeah, I'm going to do something, and we're like, no, you're not. You're not the main character. We're 4 episodes in. I've never met you before.
You're a red shirt.
I know you're a red shirt. You don't know you're a red shirt, but I know you're a red shirt. I'm sure this has to be a thing because there's God knows how much Star Trek fiction and fan fiction out there. But has anyone made a series of just red shirt stories where they'll take a random red shirt death and then do a whole story about that character's backstory and their tragic end, and then deal with the ramifications of? I think that could be funny.
You should ask Cap.
I should. It's like, yeah, here's the episodes of TNG or TOS you didn't see where they just go to that person's funeral and it's really awkward.
Oh, I do you watch Geek Evolution After Dark?
No, I didn't.
I'm an unintended guest appearance. I'm getting ready to go to bed,
no.
right? I'm laying down, and I get a Facebook call from Cap. He's like, "Hey, how's it going? Oh, by the way, I'm doing After Dark." So we just chatted on After Dark on Facebook call.
Was someone not able to show up, or did Austin have to leave or something?
No, Austin was there. They needed something to do, and so okay, it goes back to because I'm in the Superhero Rewind producers Discord, and I had to step away from it. And we were getting ready to play Jackbox, so he called me to try to find me, and that was just like a running joke that he feels like Facebook calling me, and then Jason added me on Facebook to Facebook call me. No, I unintentionally showed up on After Dark for an episode for a little bit.
That's awesome.
Hey, leave my boy Steve out of this.
This is an uncomfortable moment though, where and Nancy hasn't mentioned the Steve part to her mom yet. Her mom's like,
No, she outright denied it. Not that she didn't mention it.
Yeah, but
and there it is.
Yeah, it's very selfish, but it is believable though. Where your self-preservation as a teenager, like you'd still want to keep that lie up, even though your friend's life is in danger. It is missing, and that's obviously more important and should take priority. But I still buy that you'd still have that weird, like, innate need to lie or keep that hidden.
God, I love coffee. Oh. Do you drink coffee? Because every time we chat, you're just drinking water.
Yeah, I'm not really much of a coffee drinker.
I got it real early when I was like 5. My grandparents would give me coffee. I was like, dude, this is delicious.
I drink energy drinks, but not nearly as much as I used to. Now, when I drink an energy drink, it's like, oh fuck, now I'm gonna go like 48 hours without sleeping at all.
Oh damn! See, I know a lot of people like that. That does not do it for me. I can drink an energy like. Oh, this isn't the healthiest thing in the world, but I would drink like 4 monsters to get through one of Cap's streams, and I was still tired. The Smallville energy streams.
Yeah. Well, I don't usually necessarily have like sleep paralysis or whatever, but I will. What will often happen to me is I'm very sleepy, and then I finally go to bed, and then the sleepiness goes away, and I'm just laying there, and it's like, well, but now I'm not tired, and this sucks.
And
like that's
and it's like you're not tired, but you also don't want to get up because you're like so comfortable.
Mm. And then it's like you're also doing the math. Like, okay, if I fall asleep now, I'll get at least 5 hours, but my body doesn't know that. I'm trying to get.
I was doing that when I proposed doing this. I was like, I gotta be up early, but if we do this, according to Google, it'll be close to 4 a.m. when we're done. It's 5 hours. Then I can just always go back to sleep when I get home.
This one's funny. But
This
when they
would
show up to this
this is
assembly.
like my nightmare, is just like walking into a room and everyone turning to stare at you.
Now, as good as the scene is, the only thing that doesn't work is that the implication is that these characters just talked about nothing on the drive back here. They waited until they got in the house for her to start yelling and have this conversation when they probably would have started having this argument in the car. Unless school's only like a
I mean,
2 minute
Nancy,
drive
to
from
be
the
fair,
house.
Steve was also listening to you. I don't think it's unreasonable for him to not want to get in trouble
Mm-hmm.
when him drinking didn't really have anything to do with her going missing. She didn't drink anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what irritates me, is like she kind of just starts flying off the handle at people when they don't instantly agree with her.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say that's one of her more negative traits.
But that's the part where I was like, oh, but can I really be mad at that? Like, that's a character flaw. And she
Mm.
overcomes that, I'd say, probably by season 4.
Yeah.
Listen, okay, just Steve is my boy, and I want everything good to happen to him. He's got that Bruce Campbell thing in this show where the directors just love to beat him up so they can put beat up makeup on his
Yes.
face.
He is tortured a lot, that is true.
Pennywise will know eating food is just eating a human. I mean, I don't think he necessarily
That's what he
eats
does.
people.
He eats their fear, question mark?
Yeah, he just thrives on their fear. Like, he's mutilated people before, but I don't remember any scenes of him eating people.
I think they more overtly do that in the movies.
Probably. You gotta have that, like, shock factor.
Because he eats the kid's arm in the opening, and then the one guy in the
Can't have a
second one.
cerebral horror flick. It's gotta have the munchies.
Mm-hmm.
Although honestly,
Demogorgon's gotta go with munchies.
if I were gonna adapt it, I would just do the first part, just scrap the adult stuff. It doesn't work. Or if I was gonna be really ambitious, okay, no studio in their right mind would approve this, but you make the first part, and then you wait literally 27 years until the kids have grown up, and do the second part.
That would be neat. It'd be the
Nobody in
boyhood.
their right mind would approve that.
It would be cool.
Even in the book, the adult stuff is like the worst part of that. And then the first movie just cuts out so much of the lore they have to like kind of awkwardly stuff it back in part 2.
Yep.
Spaghetti.
Yeah, that's a situation where I understand, like, if you're like a big fan of that book, I'd understand you preferring the second movie more, since it's just weirder and more Stephen King lore and stuff. But in terms of just like simplifying it in general audience entertainment, like, I get why part one was more liked and successful. It's just
And see, I think that's
more
one of his,
simple and straightforward.
and I think that's one of his weaker books. So I think part 1 is a perfect adaptation of what
Yeah.
works about that book.
Oh god, this is like, if I had to do a top 10 list, things I don't miss from high school, somewhere on that list is awkward assemblies.
Yes, on those uncomfortable ass bleachers.
Yeah, but like, especially like the really serious ones. Like, okay, we're gonna talk about drunk driving, and here's a guest speaker whose kid died because they were hit by a truck, and it's just like, and you're surrounded by people who or just the
So
worst. And don't want to be like, oh my god, I had so many awkward situations.
so those are always triple miserable for me. One, I have scoliosis. Sitting on those bleachers with no back support was hell. Two,
Hmm.
the closest I can confirm is like vertigo. But if I look up and it's like a really tall, ceiling, I get really dizzy.
Oh, okay.
Um, like even movie theaters, sometimes I have to physically resist the urge to look up, or I'm going to start feeling dizzy.
Oh,
I
gotcha.
don't know what it is. It's very strange. It's almost like a reverse fear of heights. Um, and three, I hated most of my classmates.
Oh, so, some were quite terrible. And this scene works. The problem is in a lot of with these Stephen King bullies, it's just like this generally bothers me. Like, where are the adults? Like, there should be one teacher present to put a stop to this. But making this kid pee his pants is very funny and good revenge.
And we'll never see them again after the
Well,
season.
yeah, so they all died.
No,
But it
because
is
I
one of those
remember what
scenes
they
that's like,
do to
where's the
get
adult?
revenge on this, and it is insane.
Like there should be teachers. There should be staff present. What is this, Haunting of Hill House? What are we doing in a funeral home?
Again, I don't care what the other photos were. If I knew somebody took a picture of me in an intimate setting, I would never want anything to do with them ever again. And I think my biggest complaint with it is, like with every other piece of drama, we don't have a conversation about it. She just pretends like it didn't happen.
He does apologize. It just takes too long to get there.
But
But
just once, I'd like to see a character act realistic. Like, no, I don't forgive you. What you did was creepy.
yeah, but also like she's in a very weird, unusual situation right now where like she's just not thinking about it. Like her best friend is missing. She thinks she saw a monster without a face, and this is the only person who has like any evidence of it. And can like I just don't think she's thinking about that stuff right
I guess. Fuck you, Jonathan.
now.
As long as I'm alive, he will have one hater. I'm just kidding.
But also, this is important though that he's actually going to believe her because she's going to describe what Joyce has already described. So this is the first time where it finally clicks for Jonathan. Like, oh shit, there is something weird going on.
No, this is a good way to bring the two like storylines together. Remember pool?
They don't make pool anymore.
So my grandpa was like a big pool player. Like he was a local like champion. Like growing up, he had
Nice.
entire trophy cases. So some of my earliest memories are going to the pool table and then not really wanting to learn. I just wanted to hit the balls and like mess around.
Mm.
And he'd get so mad at me. The thing with my grandpa is he was from Mexico, so he was a very old fashioned, like, he grew up doing hard work.
Mm.
This was the man that told me that the kids' meal was too expensive as a kid. I didn't need that junk, the toy. So instead, I would get a Whopper Junior because it was only $1.
Damn.
I like this stuff where he's, under
Going
an undercover.
undercover.
I also think they cut down on his smoking in the later seasons.
Well, again, it's because he's in Russia for all season. He doesn't have a lot of access to it.
I know story with Pennywise. He was a clown a long time ago in the falling space thing. He
Yeah,
wasn't
well,
really
there's a
a
long
clown.
backstory
That's for a different
with
video.
the aliens, and yeah, we'll see how much the show goes into that.
But I mean, even with like season 2 and 3, I think they really start to downplay a lot of that.
I could be wrong. I remember him smoking a lot in season 3, but I could be misremembering that.
I could also be misremembering. I kind of tune out with his subplot because it's insane.
I'm also, I mean, like, I don't smoke, but I'm not someone like has now it's we're seeing a lot less of it in fiction, and it's like it's okay, like if it fits the character or if it's part of it's okay to have a fictional character smoke. It's a thing people still do. I don't know, and there's ways around it. Like there are actors like you haven't finished Better Call Saul. All right, I guess you haven't watched Better Call Saul yet.
I haven't finished Breaking Bad.
Right, okay, but I don't know. There are actors on that like who used to smoke but then didn't smoke anymore. But they would use fake cigarettes to do those scenes, and then like digitally in post would clean them up and make them look real. So there's ways around it where it's like obviously the actor's comfort should come first, but I'm not someone who's like. But like Constantine, you rarely see smoke anymore, and there's just characters where it's like, or Wolverine, and part of Wolverine's character is he heals, like he's not in danger. It doesn't. There's a part of his character.
To be fair, with Wolverine, you at least get the token scenes. Mm-hmm. I don't need him walking around with a cigar in every scene.
No, and like he smokes a lot more in some of the earlier ones, but that's just an example.
The ones where it's weird is like Logan, where he just doesn't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, he does grab cigars. Like he has cigars, but I don't remember if you actually see him like smoking them.
You see them grab them, but I don't think he smokes them.
Yeah, it's just like this weird thing now of like.
But it also doesn't really bother me that there's a lack of it. Like it's fine. It just depends. I think my favorite use of smoking is Joss Whedon. Only the bad people in Buffy smoke, so you can tell someone's a bad person because they're smoking. And I'm not even joking because he will use that as a character motif of like this character's going down a dark path now. They're smoking and doing things that they wouldn't normally do.
Does he ever do it where he'll introduce like kind of an ambiguous character where the audience doesn't know yet, but if you notice them smoking, that's your clue? Like, does he ever use it in that way? That's kind of a tip to the audience, like, hey, this is gonna be a bad person.
No, not really. The thing that he does starting with season 2 is you'll have who you think is the big bad, and then you'll get the real big bad. God, I cannot wait for you to see season 2 because I want to know how that plays to someone who is not familiar at all with any of the characters outside of the like one episode that you watched. We just did the pilot, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And that's a season we could just do like part 1 and part 2. Because it's a good old fashioned 23 episode season. Remember when we made those?
And I think there's a middle ground, like Psych is the big one for me, where that on average had a 16 episode season. Like I think that's a good middle ground for
Psych is also
not overdoing it.
Yeah, and Psych is also one of those where I could see that being a comfort show. Like you just throw that on.
That's a big one for me.
Mine, weirdly enough, is House.
I missed it, but I'd probably like it if I liked a lot of procedural stuff. That's just one I missed.
If you like Sherlock Holmes, you got to watch it.
I've heard it's good. It's just like, fuck, when am I going to watch 200 episodes of House?
Well, because that is, not only is that a procedural, but it is very much a Sherlock Holmes adaptation.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, that's what Psych is too. Like, it's a loose adaptation, but there's a lot of Sherlock Holmes.
House is more like this is just Sherlock Holmes.
Mhm.
He's a narcissist that can't get along with people. He's addicted to drugs. He has a sidekick who's a doctor. That's his only friend.
Well,
They
Gus
kind
is
of
a
do a
pharmaceutical.
Moriarty. What's that?
I No, I was saying that Gus does sell pharmaceuticals. That's Doctor adjacent. Did you ever watch Elementary?
That's what I
Uh,
always kind of wanted to watch.
I've heard some people say it's okay.
I don't know if that actually gets an ending or if they canceled it.
Mm.
And I'm just one of those. If you cancel it, you go to the back of the line. Like,
Yep.
I think Stephen King was making a new loser club, and Welcome to Derry. We'll see. We don't know
Is
anything
it?
about that show.
But also, maybe this hasn't been confirmed. I know I've seen rumors about Stephen King writing like an its sequel. Have you heard about
I
this?
have not.
Because he first hinted at it years ago. I don't know if you know about this. God, what book was it? It wasn't Sleepwalker, or I think it's the Book of Dreamcatchers. I want to say there's like a blatant reference to the Losers Club somewhere in that, where there's a message that says like Pennywise lives or something. It's like a
Oh,
big overt like, hey, I might be doing this, and he never did. But I think I've heard rumors that he might be writing a sequel. I don't know if he
I feel
needs
like
to, but it's
Stephen
just
King. The only reason I'd be interested in a sequel, to be honest, is to see somebody adapt it. Like, I don't think the Doctor Sleep book is very good, but the movie is great.
yeah.
I'm looking at his book. I feel like a lot of his books now, like they aren't. Nobody makes a big deal. Oh, Stephen King is coming out with a new book because he writes like 600 books a year.
Hmm.
Oh, he hasn't released a book at all this year. He did a short story collection, but he hasn't written a novel this year, or at least come out one. Oh no, he wrote a book about the COVID-19 pandemic.
Ooh, hope it has
Apparently,
aliens in it.
it's apparently it's with one of his long-running characters too, but she's not been in any books that I've read.
Dude, you've never seen Sleepwalkers, right?
I have not. I want to though.
That'll be a fun blind commentary at some point. Oh God, that is a fun movie.
We should
A
do that
weird
with
movie.
Maximum Overdrive.
That'd be a great double feature.
I don't know. Some of these books that he's done recently just don't look all that appealing to me.
Now, earlier, what you're talking about, like what they should be having conversation, like that's what this scene is. Like it is Jonathan explaining why he takes photos of people, how you see the real person and not who they say they
Yeah,
are. And he
but
does apologize here. It takes too long, but he does finally apologize. Um, because like it's weird, but it is a thing a lot of people have where it's not just a pervy thing. It's just like this weird itch that some photographers have of just observing people. I mean, it's what Rerun is all about. If you've ever seen Rerun, that's a great movie. That's like what that whole movie's about, is just like observing
yeah,
other
but
people's lives from a distance.
I don't have a problem with
Obviously,
someone
you should do it.
photographing someone. The difference is she was in her underwear.
Mm-hmm.
And I think yeah, I get he apologizes, but I feel like it's just kind of brushing it under the rug.
Yeah. And this is one of my favorite Hopper scenes, though, where he's reached. This is like a little germ of what you're gonna see in season 3 when he's starting to lose his patience, and he's like, he's reached fuck it territory.
Oh, and it works here because like there's a kid in danger.
Yeah, no, it works. Works totally.
And season 3's
That's one of
motivation
my
is,
favorite.
I think they're spending too much time together, so I'm going to make them
Yeah.
break up.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also in season 3, like that whole season takes place over a period of like 3 days, and he just never gets any sleep, and he's just constantly frustrated or pissed off and angry. Like there's at least like a situational justification for him being a bit grumpy. But that's one of my favorite like performances though from David Harbour. Just that reaction where he's like trying to figure out how to spin it, and then I'll just punch this guy. It's just easier. And this scene's so unnerving where you, the audience, like it's crazy too. Like last episode, cliffhanger. Oh my god, Will might be dead. We already know. I love how much information we get in each episode. It's like we already know that he's still alive. Like okay, he's.
It's
still
like Ash vs Evil Dead, where we get a lot done in an episode.
Yes, definitely.
Although it's more impressive in Ash vs Evil Dead because those are like 30-minute episodes and they don't feel like it, but not in a bad way.
That's another one we've talked about doing commentaries on. I'd love to read.
Apparently, Elementary did not get canceled, so at some point I will watch it.
Yeah, all right.
Because I like Castle a lot, but that's mostly because I love Fillion. Like,
oh yeah, Fillion's great. My mom loves Castle.
it gets awkward towards the end because they that show is built on a will they won't they, and then they do, and it's like, what do we do now? Oh, our co-stars can't stand to be around each other. What do we do?
Well, it's worse in Castle, but I've heard that Bones also has that problem to a degree where it's a lot of will they won't they, and then they're a couple, and then they don't know how to write them as a couple, and then the show dips. But in Castle, it's worse because you have two actors who don't like each other.
Well, and the thing with Bones, because I've seen a few episodes of Bones, Bones also has that repetitive thing way worse than like Castle does. Is they get together in like season 6. You got 6 more seasons.
Oh my god.
No, that's like a 12-season show. And they get together halfway through. It's like, well, they have kids. I don't know.
Yeah, in the case of something like Friends, I think it works better.
Friends is just chronicling their lives.
Yeah, and instead of doing 5 seasons or 10 seasons on Will They Won't They with Ross and Rachel, they get them together fairly early, and then they break them up, and then it's Will They Won't They after that. But like it becomes more of a subplot of the show than the main focus.
And I'm also one of those that I don't think Friends has as big a fall off as people say it does.
I don't either. I think the last couple seasons are the weakest. There's a couple questionable choices, but I think they ended it at the right time. I don't think it went on too long.
And I like the last season, the Ross and Rachel stuff, like them trying to be co-parents. And maybe like Rachel and Joey stuff was a little awkward, but
yeah, that's the big one that didn't really go anywhere and wasn't super necessary.
Well, that was season 1, episode 4.